Hi, this is David Orlofsky with our question and answer series where we try to answer very complicated, difficult questions in a very short period of time by giving a relatively shallow answer. Anonymous asks, what is Ameilus BaTorah? Ameilus BaTorah. How many shmoozin have we had? BaTorah. We learned Parshas B'chukosai. Why will all of these klolos, these terrible curses take place? Not because you didn't learn Torah. You weren't BaTorah, Ameilus BaTorah. And the way this is usually described as you're sitting there with the sweat pouring down your face. Oh, you're just sitting back and learning. Okay, have a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, There's an excuse for me to have my coffee. BaTorah. Does that mean that sweat has to start dripping onto the page of the Sefer I'm learning because I'm working so hard? So, Hebrew is a great language. When I say Hebrew, I mean Lashon HaKodesh. Hebrew, Ivrit, is basically English with a bad accent. Half the words are all English. Minimum, maximum, individually, poyent, that's point, Koalitzia, I don't even know. I said to an Israeli, why do you even keep a language anymore? Just switch to English. There's no hope for Hebrew. And he goes, Ani optimisti. But anyway, but be that as it may, there are a lot of words in Hebrew for work. There's avodah. That's what we normally think of as labor. If any of you had a good Zionist education like I did when I was a kid, zum gali gali gali, zum gali gali, hachalutz leman avodah, avodah leman hachalutz, oh zum gali gali gali. Yeah, the pioneer is for work, work is for the pioneer. There's yigia. Well, one of the words for work is amel. Now, obviously, amel is different than other words. What is amel? What kind of work is amel? Says the Gemara, Adam la'amel yulad. A person was created for amel. So maybe you think it means malacha. It brings a pasuk. No, it's dibur. So maybe you think it means dvarim betelim. So says the pasuk. No, it means Torah. So what were the two havaminas? Maybe I was put into this world to dig a ditch? So I heard Rabbi Orlofsky explain it once. Amel means labor of love. Labor of love. And he didn't say this, but to me it's pashut. In the Haggadah, it darshans the pasuk, V'es amalenu zu banenu. This is our children. Children are a lot of work. But it's not necessarily physical effort. It's mostly having your heart ripped out every single day. It's all the worries and this and the things that go on with that and all this the effort that goes. But the amel, it's a labor of love. When I used to teach in Aish, so they would say in a class they'd ask somebody, says, "What's your parents' greatest source of pleasure?" Says, "Me." Says, and what's your parents' greatest source of pain? Says, me. One time, I was in a class, they said to this girl, what's your parents' greatest source of pleasure? Says, me. And what's your parents' greatest source of pain? My brother. But people have children because it's a labor of love, because we're developing something. Amel is your life work. It doesn't matter how hard it is. There are people who work at a job 8 hours a day, but they have a hobby. And that's what their amel is. They're building a ship inside of a bottle, that's what they're doing. But that's their amel. It gives their life meaning. So it says the Gemara, maybe we were created to do creative things. Malacha, not avoda. Malacha, it's another word for work. Creative work. Art, music. He says, no, it's dibur. He says, okay, maybe we're supposed to talk about ideas. Maybe we should become a commentator. Maybe we should have a podcast. Just sit and talk about stuff. He says, no, it's amel b'Torah. It means that when you learn Torah, it's your point of fulfillment. There are people who learn Torah because they're supposed to learn Torah, but they don't enjoy it. It's not it's not exciting to them. And if that happens, eventually they'll stop learning. I've told the story in the past of Aaron Cutler was raising money to start the Lakewood Yeshiva, and this balabas was helping him raise the money. So they come home at night, and he sits down and opens up the newspaper. And Rav Aaron says to him, "Why don't you open the Gemara?" He says, "Don't worry, Rebbe, I have my Olam Haba. I'm helping you raise money for a yeshiva." He says, "I'm not talking about Olam Haba, I'm talking about Olam Hazeh." The learning should be amal, it should be your fulfillment. That's the secret to it. It's got to have that level where there's an enjoyment. I've told this story, but when I was teaching in Dovid, so I was speaking to one of the other Rebbeim, and one of his guys came up to ask him a question. And after he answered it, I went back to what I was saying, and he says, no, watch. And he goes back to his desk, and he does like a little dance before he sits down. I can't do it. He was from LA. They have these moves, yeah. And he looked at me and said, "That's the simcha everyone should get when they get an answer to a question in learning. That's amal." In Mitzvah Hashem, we should all be zaycha to Adam amal yulad, that we were created to have fulfillment in Torah. This has been David Orlofsky with a question and answer series.